NBA star turned diplomat and wild man Dennis Rodman is telling all about his trip to North Korea. And last week, Rodman hanging out and partying with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The two watching basketball and eating sushi. And now Rodman telling ABC News that what he and Kim Jong-un discussed.
I sat with him for 2 days. And the one thing he asked me to give Obama something to say and do one thing. He want Obama to do one thing. Call him.
He wants a call from President Obama?
That's right. He told me that. He said, if you can, Dennis, I don't want to do war. I don't want to do war. He loves basketball. Now, I said the same thing I said. Obama loves basketball. Let's start there.
Former UN Ambassador John Bolton joins us. He's got the giggles, so maybe I have to talk like to the Macarena while he recovers. But you like that.
You know, if it weren't for the tragedy of what's going on in North Korea, you really could dismiss it lightly. But Dennis Rodman, and I'm sad to say the Harlem Globetrotters who accompanied him, were played for fools by this dictator in North Korea. He gains legitimacy, he gains international repute, he gains credibility among some people, I suppose. All the while, he's continuing to develop nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, and oppressing his people.
All right, let me give you another twist just to consider is that we have had no contact with this guy. We have no idea what Kim Jong-un is like at all. I realize that Dennis Rodman is quite a wild guy and quite an interesting fellow, I might add. But we now have, or at least we have a communication from Rodman to this guy, which is more than we've ever had.
Yeah, the question is what communication went in to Rodman and what report of that communication is coming out. I mean, you can get a distorted view, and I think
it is distorted.
I think
it is distorted.
I think he has presented a distorted view. Look, if they want to communicate with us, there are ways to do it. And it's a question here not of one individual, Kim Jong-un. It's a question of a regime that has followed a pattern, including since he took office, of repressing its people and threatening its neighbors. And nothing since Kim Jong-un took power after the death of his father has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse. They've restricted the border even more to prevent North Korean refugees from coming out. They've tested their nuclear device for the third time. There's every indication of increased cooperation with Iran. So I think the threat is growing larger, and yet there are what Vladimir Lenin called useful idiots who go to North Korea. Eric Schmidt of Google, Dennis Rodman, the New York Philharmonic, who are played for fools by the North Korean regime.
I've been there 3 times. I don't know if I'm one of those useful fools you're talking about.
Well, you at least report things out as you see them, as opposed to the propaganda that these people are simply transmitting.
This is probably the worst place on earth. I mean, these people have no free thought.
It's a prison camp.
It is a large prison camp, and we've been unable to bust through and have any communication. He is testing nuclear weapons. He's a threat to the whole region. He's a threat to South Korea, Japan. You know, and we have no idea what's going on there.
Well, I think, as I say, we can have all the communication with them that we want. It is an illusion to believe that even with a lot of communication, we can talk them out of their nuclear weapons program. This is not a case where personal relationships or more open communication are going to change that regime. That's why I think the only real answer here is that the regime needs to disappear and the two Koreas have to be reunited.
I think they have to stop being afraid of us. I tell you that when I'm there, they think that every Saturday night, every single American is sitting around thinking, how are we going to kill those North Koreans? And when I was there, when they told me that, I said, well, frankly, we're thinking about should we order pizza or Chinese food, and what movie do you want? I mean, we have a very different. The people in North Korea actually think we're trying to kill them every single day.
Well, I think it's also a vision of what they think they want on the Korean Peninsula. I mean, this is the world's only hereditary communist dictatorship. They've got a very distorted view of everything, up to and including China. But the real burden here is going to have to be on China. It's not because suddenly Kim Jong-un is going to have a revelation based on communication with Dennis Rodman or Eric Schmidt or the New York Philharmonic or John Kerry, while we're on the subject. Their interest, their direction is utterly opposite of ours. It's detrimental to everybody in the region, and there's really only one long-term solution.
And that is, I think China could step up, but we've discussed that before. China won't step up.
The sooner the better. Well, I think their younger Chinese leaders are getting ready.
Ambassador, thank you. Always nice to see you, sir.